Everyone laughed when Myra, the poorest girl in the village, married a blind beggar. They said she ruined her life, but exactly 7 days later, screams filled the street because the same beggar arrived in a black limousine, and everyone froze. Let's begin. Myra had grown up believing life would never offer her anything beautiful. Poverty had shaped every corner of her existence, from the tattered roof above her bed to the constant whispers in the marketplace about how unlucky she was. Her mother had died when she was 10, and her father, after years of illness, left her alone in a collapsing house on the edge of the village. People pitied her initially, but pity soon turned into mockery once she became old enough to understand how people truly saw her: poor, unlucky, and destined for nothing. Myra, however, had always possessed a quiet strength, a softness that wasn't weakness but resilience. She worked at a small tea stall every morning and washed clothes for families in the evening, earning barely enough for food. Still, she carried a gentle smile everywhere she went. That smile made her stand out, even if people pretended not to see it. One evening, while walking home through the dusty road, she saw a man sitting under the old banyan tree. His clothes were worn out, his hair messy, and his eyes, though open, looked unfocused and lost. A wooden bowl was placed near his feet. People walked past without even glancing at him, but something about him made Myra stop. "Sir, are you hungry?" she asked softly. The man lifted his head slightly. His voice was low, calm, and strangely refined. "I don't want to bother anyone," he said. "I'm blind. I just need enough for food." Myra didn't have much, but she placed her own meal wrapped in banana leaves into his hands. His fingers trembled as they touched the food. "You don't even know me," he whispered. Myra smiled. "I don't need to. Hunger doesn't need introductions." From that evening onward, Myra found herself returning to the banyan tree daily, often bringing him food, sometimes sitting with him in silence. He told her his name was Arlen. He listened more than he spoke, always grateful, never complaining. Over time, the village noticed, and once the gossip started, it didn't stop. "Look at her," women snickered. "She's so desperate. She's feeding a beggar for company." Men laughed openly. "At least the beggar is blind. He won't see her pathetic life." Myra tried to ignore them, but some words cut too deep to pretend they didn't hurt. Still, something about Arlen made her return every day. He had a gentleness she had never seen in anyone else. He asked about her dreams, her mother, her childhood. He listened as if her words were precious. No one had ever done that before. One day, Arlen asked quietly, "Myra, would you consider marrying someone like me?" Myra froze. She wasn't prepared for such a question, but when she looked at him, she saw a man who cared for her in a way no one ever had. He had nothing. She had nothing. Yet their hearts felt full when together. After a long silence, Myra whispered, "Yes." The entire village erupted with laughter. She must be insane. A blind beggar? At least find a man who can see her misery. Good. Let the two hopeless people stay together. Some even came to watch the tiny marriage ceremony, just to laugh. But Myra didn't care. She held Arlen's hand with pride. After the ceremony, they returned to her falling apart home. Arlen apologized for not bringing anything into her life, but Myra placed a hand on his cheek and said, "You brought kindness. That is more than anything money can give." The first night of their marriage, however, brought a change Myra didn't expect. Arlen seemed restless, tense, as if fighting with himself. "Myra," he said softly, "there is something you should know." But before he could continue, he stopped, shaking his head. "No, soon you'll see." Myra didn't push him. Some secrets take time to unfold. The next morning, Myra went to work as usual. People laughed louder than ever. Married life, they said, would crush her even further. But for the first time, Myra felt peace. Arlen, despite his blindness, helped around the house, washed dishes slowly, swept the floor, even repaired broken items by feeling their shape. He was gentle, thoughtful, and filled with quiet determination. She often caught him touching objects with a strange familiarity, as if he wasn't truly blind, but she dismissed the thought perhaps he was simply adapting. On the 7th day of their marriage, everything changed. It was a bright morning, and Myra was returning home from the tea stall when the ground suddenly vibrated beneath her. A loud humming sound echoed through the village. People rushed outside in confusion. Down the dusty road came a long, glossy black limousine, something no one in the village had ever seen. Its tinted windows gleamed under the sun, and it moved slowly toward Myra Street. Villagers whispered frantically, "Who is this? Is someone rich visiting? Maybe a politician." The limousine stopped right in front of Myra's home. Her broken, leaning, nearly collapsed home. Gasps filled the air. The door opened. A tall man in a perfectly tailored suit stepped out. His shoes shined. Two security guards followed. Everyone stared. The suited man approached the door and knocked calmly. "Sir," he said with a slightly bowed head. "It's time." Myra froze. "Sir, who was he calling?" Before anyone could understand what was happening, Arlen stepped out of the house, except he wasn't fumbling or feeling around. He walked straight, confident, steady, sure-footed. And his eyes were sharp, clear, fully seeing. The village fell silent. Myra stared at him, completely stunned. Arlen turned to face her, his expression soft, gentle, and filled with something deeper than love, respect. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I should have told you earlier." Myra couldn't breathe. "Arlen, you can see." He nodded slowly. "Yes, I have always been able to see." Gasps burst from every direction. What he lead? Was he actually rich? But nothing could prepare them for what happened next. The suited man bowed slightly. "Mr. Arlen, your father's company is waiting. The board wants you back immediately. The investors are ready." Myra's heart nearly stopped. You're not a beggar?" Arlen stepped closer and held her hands. "I am the sole heir of a multinational corporation. My father died a year ago, and people around me turned greedy. I needed to know who I could trust. I wanted to see the world without the lens of wealth. I disguised myself and traveled. And then I met you." Myra's knees weakened. "But why pretend to be blind?" Arlen's voice broke slightly. "Because when people think you can't see them, you see who they truly are. And when you gave me your food, your smile, and your heart, you saw me, my soul, not my appearance or my status. You married me even when the world laughed. You gave me dignity when others ignored me." The villagers, who only days ago mocked Myra, now stood frozen, wide-eyed, humiliated. The same people who called Arlen useless now stared at him like he was royalty. Arlen squeezed her hands gently. "Myra, I came here in this disguise not expecting love, but you changed everything. I wanted to reveal the truth on the seventh day, a tradition my mother followed, believing it brings blessings to a new marriage. And now," he paused, his voice trembling, "I want to take you with me, not because you married a beggar, but because you chose a man before his money." The limousine door opened again, revealing an interior so luxurious that villagers gasped and whispered as if they were seeing magic. But Arlen wasn't looking at the limousine. His eyes were only on Myra. "Come with me," he said softly. "Let me give you the life you deserve, not as repayment but as your partner, your husband, who loves you." Myra's eyes filled with tears. Everything in her life, every struggle, every humiliation, every lonely night felt like they had led to this moment. She stepped toward him slowly, her voice breaking. "I don't want your money, Arlen. I just want you." Arlen cupped her face, smiling through emotion. "And you have me, forever." The villagers stood like statues as Myra entered the limousine beside her husband. The engine hummed, the tinted windows rolled up, and the long black car glided away, leaving the shocked, silent village behind. For the first time in her life, Myra wasn't walking on dust. She was being carried into a new world, a world she had never dared to dream of. And beside her was the man everyone mocked her for choosing, the man who turned out to be far more than anyone imagined. In just 7 days, the poorest girl had become the richest in ways no one could measure, because she had married not wealth, but character, and in doing that, she found both.